Hey guys, welcome back to the AT Chat. Today we are doing another Q&A video with some controversial questions, which hopefully I have some good answers for. So let's dive right into it. The first question for today comes from Milton Albinson, and it's, what are your thoughts on the tug of war that seems to be happening between story groups at Lucasfilm, you know, kind of the stuff regarding Jon Favreau and Kathleen Kennedy? At least that's what I think it's a very long paragraph. That's what I think you're asking. So let me dive right in. First, I want to say that I don't think there's a tug of war at all. I think this is literally basically just a group of channels online and a couple of sort of mid-level news source sort of sites that are all working together to kind of create this sort of cycle of misinformation. And the reason I say that is that if you go to one of these videos, they have an article linked, and then you go to that article, and that article links to another video that's talking about the same topic that links back to that article again with no real origin. It's almost like its own paradox, right? It's an information paradox. And this whole Kennedy is trying to fire Favreau and there's tension. There is zero substantiation to this, that there is no reason to believe this is happening. And it's really bizarre because there is literal information that, people say Kathleen Kennedy has never touched The Mandalorian. This is Jon and Dave's thing, and it was their idea, and they know how to do Star Wars correct. Well, hold on, because there's this thing called the Art of the Mandalorian. And luckily, since I can read, I can just read right from that book. So here we go. Here's some actual facts. On September 25th, Jon Favreau replied to Kathleen Kennedy's email, gauging his interest in a live-action TV series, expressing interest in Mandalorians, a subject Filoni also wished to further explore. Okay, there you go. Okay, so no, there wasn't some sort of Favreau came in with this idea, told Kennedy to step aside, I'm doing this to fix Star Wars. It just, this thing that was concocted just isn't happening. And I understand people are mad at Kathleen Kennedy for delivering what they consider bad Star Wars experiences or derailing what they thought, this epic conclusion to a saga should be. And honestly, as a person that was very underwhelmed by the finale of the sequel trilogy, I understand being frustrated with movies and Star Wars and the way things went. However, what I don't understand is the need or desire to make up drama and act in a way as if what I am saying is true regarding said drama that can't be substantiated. A lot of this is just, as I said, like a network of these people all making the same video or article, and they're all sort of linking back to each other in this like wild echo chamber. And it's interesting. And to be frank, right now on YouTube, the reason this question is even being brought up is because on YouTube, this is one of the biggest stories. If you type in Star Wars, you pretty much just get served this versus Star Wars content about subjects in Star Wars. You get served kind of the clickbait stuff. So you're really just like throwing all of this stuff that says tug of war, Kathleen wants to fire Favreau, and George Lucas writing season 3, just a litany of things that you could literally say and make content on because you don't have to prove that it's real. But the thing is that the fundamental core of this is just lies. And you can prove without a shadow of a doubt that Kathleen Kennedy was the person that created The Mandalorian and then figured out if Jon Favreau and Filoni would be interested in pursuing it. So yeah, I don't know. I get it when your livelihood depends on, YouTube income. Luckily mine doesn't. I get 1,000 views. Sometimes something goes to like 10,000 views, but I have a job. So like, if my video does crappy, it doesn't matter. These people, it matters. So they have to continue to make this stuff because their fans also love it. So it doesn't matter what you believe. It doesn't matter what's true. All that matters is, how much ad revenue you get. And right now, this fake war is a super big moneymaker. And I'll just leave it at that. If you want to make money right now on Star Wars YouTube, unless you're already established, start talking about rumors and theories and things that can't be substantiated. It'll work very quickly. All right, let's move into question number 2. And this comes from Brett Burns. What is your favorite space battle? Well, I was actually just talking about this earlier on Twitter, and if you guys don't follow me on Twitter, it's Twitter @chat, really easy to find. But yeah, I'd have to say my favorite space battle is honestly a tie between Return of the Jedi with the Death Star 2 and Rogue One, definitely. Rogue One and Return of the Jedi. I mean, similar in scope, in a lot of ways, but yeah, I think they're just the best of the best. And maybe Rogue One is better, maybe, and not because of how new it is, but the feeling of war is very effective in the dog fights, especially when they're going through like that ring that's covering Scarif, and like they're all trying to penetrate it and get down to the base, and you know the last two guys they don't get there and at the right time, it just closes on them and they're like then they die. It's like for the first time, you know, you just don't have like a Porkins exploding and the guy kind of just feels like, well, I just exploded, no big deal. Like that's how all of most of the original trilogy feels, but in Rogue One it's like really intense. So maybe Rogue One, but those are my favorite space battles, and I'd have to say I'll give you kind of a ranking. Those two are my number ones, and then for number 2 slot, I'd probably say the opening of Revenge of the Sith, and then number 3, I'd have to say the original Trench Run would be number 3. So Trench Run number 3, and then Revenge of the Sith opening for number 2 slot, and then Return of the Jedi and Rogue One for favorite space battles. All right, let's see what the third question is. And this comes from Brandon Hancock. And it's sort of like let's say this happened to you. So it goes, you have been given unlimited money and creative freedom to make whatever Star Wars project you want. Do you make a game, show, movie, or something else? Who or what is it about? Where in the galaxy is it set? And what time period will it be set? Well, funny enough, I've actually thought about this a lot. If I could make anything that I have that I love in terms of Star Wars stories or whatever, into some sort of show or whatever, what would it be? And I always think about the Darth Vader Charles Soule series, like that run. It's just so good, and I honestly feel like that could be brought to life in live action on Disney+. I think it'd be amazing just to see Darth Vader again. I know a lot of people be like, that's just nostalgia bait and this and that. It is, but if you've read those comics, they're fantastic. Very interesting arc. You learn how to bleed lightsabers. You learn about a couple of the Jedi that survived Order 66. You learn about what a bearish vow is. You see Jocasta be kind of a badass. You learn about Momin. It's just, there's so many insane things that happen in that story, that translating that to a live TV show would be insane, and I would love to see it. And the other thing is, I love the Sith. I love the dark side. So I would love, if I had all the money and all the creative freedom and Lucasfilm was like, you make it, I would make the Darth Vader show. I don't know what I would call it. I guess maybe just, I don't know. I'd have to think about what I would call it. But, you know, if you've already read that comic, you know what the setting of the galaxy is. I guess if I did have a backup though, if I had like another show that I definitely want to see something made about, it would be about Kylo Ren, Ben Solo, and the second he was dropped off at Luke's Academy all the way till the night where he destroyed it. I think that is a tale, I think regardless if you hate the sequels or love them to death, I still think people would be interested in watching that for some reason. It's just my gut instinct. A lot of people still talk about Ben and how he carried the trilogy and stuff like that. He's my favorite character, Kylo Ren, Ben Solo, so it would be so cool to see something like that. But ultimately, a Darth Vader series for live action TV would be amazing. So definitely a show, something where you don't have to cram it all into one episode or 2 hours, and you have this giant canvas of time to tell the story appropriately. And what's great is you already have a roadmap. So you just got to translate some stuff to the screen with, you know, you got to get music and all that stuff. And we already know that helmeted people with The Mandalorian can emote through certain gestures and body movements, and in my head, if The Mandalorian works, it could also work with Vader. I want to see Vader a lot, maybe some people don't, but hopefully that answers your question. So let's go to the next one. This is a kind of fun one. Zachary Schatzer. I think that's how I say your name. Or is it Zachary Schatzer? Hopefully it's one of those two. If not, I apologize. So it is, what are some of the Star Wars channels that I like, or YouTube channels in general? Well, let me go for non-Star Wars channels first. I would say FilmJoy, a very great channel. Movies with Mikey especially. Those video essays are amazing, and before I really thought about doing YouTube, I would watch a lot of channels like that, like Every Frame a Painting. Big fan of like Stories of Old, Just Right, and you know, I guess a couple other smaller channels along those same lines. I kind of gravitate towards channels that are still pretty deep divey and critical and video essay-y, but sort of leave the hyperbole behind a bit. There are a lot of great video essay channels that, you know, inject a lot of humor and a lot of hyperbole and stuff, and it's funny. But at the end of the day, for somebody like me, it's a bit distracting. So I like some of the other channels that are a little more succinct, straight to the point. And to be frank, you know, Movies with Mikey is really funny, but I always learn so much from watching that guy's takes on movies. It's pretty wild. So highly recommend him for sure, Movies with Mikey. And then for Star Wars, I probably got like a top 5. You got Hello Greedo, Star Wars Explained, Eckhart's Ladder, The Lore Master, and Cinematic Captures is probably who I watch the most. And then the other guys that I try to watch, but usually it's just whenever I can get around with it. I like E.C. Henry. E.C. Henry is amazing. There's this, I can't remember his name right now. I think his name's Howard. He's doing a lot of really interesting CGI work that look like practical miniatures for Star Wars, and he just throws out these little 16-second vignettes, and they're amazing. And also, if you are a big fan of ships and you don't know who E.C. Henry is, you are missing out. That guy does some crazy stuff with things you never would believe could be done. He just finds little microscopic ships in the backgrounds of old parts of the original trilogy, and then somehow sculpts a whole ship out of it, and then he gives it its own canon story. It's hilarious, but it's so well done, and this guy's so talented. But yeah, those are the YouTube channels I dig, Star Wars and non-Star Wars alike. And today's final question comes from Revan Elf Killer, and it's, if you could master any lightsaber discipline, what would it be? And that's a tough one. I'd have to say, out of all of the lightsaber forms, I think Vapad is the most interesting, Form 7. So I'd probably go with that, because I've always been, if you watch all my videos, interested in the teetering on the light and dark side of the Force angle of everything. And the Jedi are supposed to master their emotions, and here's this form where you kind of rely on your negative emotions to kind of enforce the attack. It's an angry, aggressive form of fighting, which seems contradictory to the Jedi way. And then think about Mace Windu, who currently is, I think, the only one on the light side that hadn't fallen to the dark side that uses this technique. You know, it raises a lot of questions. I believe Form 7 is a highly utilized technique of like Darth Maul and others, like Inquisitors, etc. But yeah, pretty much just Vapad. I think that's the coolest lightsaber form there is, and the Gentleman form as my backup would be the way to go. And funny enough, I will be starting a series this week where I'll just be going through each of the lightsaber forms and kind of explaining what they are, just breaking them down a little bit, and then talking about, you know, who their notable practitioners were and just the pros and cons of each kind of saber style. So that does it for today's question and answer video. I hope it's been pretty fun kind of listening to me ramble on about each of these questions, but yeah, I really like doing these kind of videos, and it's cool to just probe my own mind about how I think about some of these Star Wars things, whatever they may be that you ask. And please make sure to also leave comments down below for next week's Q&A, because this will be an ongoing series pretty much indefinitely. So as always, may the Force be with you. AT-AT is signing off.